Welcome, everyone. Let's call the meeting to order. Welcome to City Council Special Business Meeting for Tuesday, December 28th, 2021. Let's rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Councilman Scringy,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Rosnetti.
Present.
That's all 7 here.
Thank you. So before our legislation tonight, we have public comment. We have each speaker will have 5 minutes to talk to address City Council and city issues. I ask you to please be respectful, and I'll have the clerk go over the directions to participate.
Okay, so those wishing to participate in public comment tonight may do so via Zoom by clicking the raise hand button and leaving it raised until called upon. Each speaker will be given up to 5 minutes to address City Council on city issues and should state their full name and if they live or work in the city of Binghamton. Okay, our first speaker is Mary Clark. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and happy holidays. I think one of the things that really disturbs me, I just found this out a couple hours ago that you were having this special meeting, and this is no way to conduct business. I work at Citizen Action, which is right next door to the Country Town Apartments. Last year at this time, we had people who were going without heat in the dead of winter for weeks. They had plumbing problems, apartments leaking, all sorts of huge problems. We have worked with the residents at Country Town, trying to get improvements there. So I'm certainly not against improvements at Country Town. I'm really against the process that you guys are undertaking, because right now it doesn't involve the residents. It doesn't involve everything. Back in June, we had a big public comment, which was led by the Democrats, where the number one issue was housing affordability, housing availability. And so I honor and appreciate putting $3 million into affordable housing. But is this the best way to spend $3 million? Giving it with no strings attached. We have no idea what improvements they'll make. They haven't engaged the residents, haven't done anything. And you're doing this whole process like kind of rushing it along, kind of behind closed doors that make you wonder, what is this about? Is this the best use of $3 million? Would it be better to go into the community land trust? Would it be better doing other projects in the city? I'm not against putting $3 million into housing. We need $6 million. We need $12 million into housing. But this process, it's giving it to one owner or developer with no strings attached, without including the input from residents who live there. There's endless possibilities of what you could be doing with this money that could be better served. And we need to, there's no rush to do that tonight. And so I'm urging you to step back, slow down, and really look at what is the best use of $3 million in housing? What is the best use of the money going into Country Town? They need to revamp their heating system, but do we want to do it the same old way, or do we want sustainable heating systems that we can pull down state dollars with the Climate Protection Act? There's all sorts of possibilities, and I urge you to just step back. Take a moment. This money doesn't go away. What is the rush to vote on this tonight without any community input, hidden, doing a secret special meeting in the middle of a holiday season where people aren't even aware that it's happening or have no ability to have some input? This is a terrible process. I think the money should go for a housing, but is this the correct way that we should put our money? And I don't see why you need to rush tonight to vote on this. I would take pause and not give a developer or whatever they're called, money, $3 million with no ties to what that money is going to be used for, and take it on good faith. We can't take it on good faith. It's irresponsible to do that. And I think you need to just take a moment. What is the rush? This money does not go away. You don't have to spend it.
1 minute left.
Fiscal year. So I really beg of you to stop this horrible process that you have that doesn't allow any transparency or any input from the residents who are directly impacted. It's not necessarily an evaluation of the best use of housing money, and you're giving it away without any strings attached. It's a horrible thing, and I really beg of you to slow this down. You don't need to do it tonight, and to stop and have a community process and evaluate the best use of spending $3 million of housing money. And I just look to the responsible members of City Council, Phil, Giovanni, let's try to slow this down. And I beg you to do it in an open and collaborative as well as a deliberative process.
5 minutes is up.
Of spending this money. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please click the raise hand button and leave it raised. Our next speaker will be Tina Cronopoulos.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Tina Cronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue. I am extremely fortunate to live in the district of Sofia Reseniti, who happens to be the council president. The reason I'm phoning tonight is, and I know in some ways I'm kind of wasting my breath, which is always disappointing and frustrating because, like other people who call, I usually have good reasons, I make good arguments, and then not necessarily by some folks here on the call, but, there will always be that one person who says, yes, but, there are always the same people who are complaining. And what about all the other people who aren't complaining? Clearly, we're doing a great job. So I just want to take that out of your sails right away. But there are a couple of things that really bother me about what's going on. Number one is that the meeting is happening tonight, as opposed to in a regular session. I'm particularly bothered by this because there was a news report about this town and country situation. And at the end of that article, it says that the special business meeting is going to be on the 29th of December, and it happens now on the 28th of December. Like, how are you communicating with each other? How are you communicating with the public? Do you even care about having the public attend these meetings? Because for sure it does not like that to me from the way that you organize yourselves, or rather disorganize yourselves. The other thing that really bothers me is this, as the previous speaker said, it seems that Town and Country is changing hands. There are going to be new owners. The owner is going to be a private company. And so this 3 million ARPA money is basically sort of like a leg up. And it reminds me of the proposed, the proposed project for the YMCA, where you also allocated ARPA money. And remember, when Isaac Anzarut bought that property last year for $270,000, and this year, now it's being sold for close to $1 million. So again, it's just like taxpayer money that is being used to subsidize private projects. Like, I find it really bothersome, not to mention the fact that this is basically going to allow the mayor, Rich David, aka City Boy 2280, to sort of wander around and claim that he is doing great things for the poor residents of Binghamton and Broome County in his Senate campaign. The other thing that really bothers me about what's on the agenda tonight is the approval of appointments for the Water Street Development Corporation. Once again, I know that I'm kind of wasting my breath here, but I do want to just bring it to your attention that in the packet that's been put up online, it says that there is going to be a regular city meeting. Oh no, I lie. This has to do with Town and Country, where it says that there's going to be, duly convened and regular session. And is tonight a special session? So is it a regular session or a special session? And maybe it's just that I don't know what I'm talking about, but sure hope for some correction. Anyway, it really bothers me, this private board that's being put together. And I know that you already had like a long discussion with folks putting forward really good arguments for making sure that city council gets to appoint somebody to that board, or at least that, it's not just the Republicans who get to appoint their friends, basically. And given what's going on in downtown Binghamton with the business district, where we know that a bunch of
You have 1 minute left.
Have financial interest in each other's businesses. I just find it really bothersome that you have, basically the mayor's buddies, like these business dudes. Like, I'm not saying that you should be appointing women who are business women, but why are you appointing 4 dudes? What about your championing of women, council president Resiniti? Doesn't it bother you that it's always just the guys who get to call the big shots? Maybe the guys know what they're doing, and women just need to take a back seat. Anyway, as always, really good to see you so hard at work, looking out for the interests of the people who need your help most, and making sure that your friends and good and sweet places get what they really need to make sure that the political careers take off, so that they can put quotations from the former president on their personal pages of their place at work. It's always nice to
Your
see
5 minutes is up.
President.
Thank you.
Former one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Anyone else wishing to speak should click the raise hand button and leave it raised.
Okay. If there are no other hands raised, we can move on to other business for tonight. So, excuse me. We have one appointment that needs to be made tonight for the Water Street Development Corporation. City Council is authorized to appoint one member to this board, as mentioned in Permanent Ordinance 21-127, which established the Water Street Development Corporation back on November 17. Do we have any nominations for this appointment? Councilman Strawn?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to nominate our colleague, Councilman Tom Scanlon, to the Water Street Development Corporation board.
Okay, thank you. I will need a second for that.
Madam President, if Councilman Scanlon is willing to serve, I think one of us being on that corporation, I think, is a really good idea, and I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Okay. See none, so we have the roll call, right? Yes, go ahead.
So at this time, please, when I call your name, please state the name of the individual you would like to appoint to the Water Street Development Corporation. Councilman Scaringi.
Councilman Tom Scanlon.
Councilwoman Riley.
I'm going to abstain.
Point of order. I believe she needs to state why she's abstaining. If Ken's on there, or somebody else is on there.
Yes, I believe Councilman Scanlon is correct. If you're going to abstain, you would need to state your reasoning.
Okay. At the time, Councilman Scanlon did not verbally accept the nomination, so I was really unsure if he really wanted that position. So are you now verbalizing your acceptance of said nomination, Councilman Scanlon?
I'm not really comfortable talking about this board whatsoever because I'm not officially on this board. If Ken or somebody from Corp Council is on there, I wish they would chime in right now because officially I'm not on this board until it's approved by City Council.
No, the question was just, do you accept the nomination?
I do, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's what I needed because I did not receive such prior to the vote. I will support Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you. Councilwoman Friedman.
Councilman Tom Scanlon.
Councilman Burns.
Councilman, I support Councilman Tom Scanlon.
Councilman Strawn.
Councilman Tom Scanlon.
Councilman Scanlon.
Tom Scanlon.
And President Resnetti.
Councilman Tom Scanlon.
That's 7 votes for Tom Scanlon.
So thank you, everyone, and congratulations, Councilman Scanlon, on your appointment. So now we're going to move on to do a second read legislation. We have introductory ordinance 21-158 considered in the Finance Committee with Councilman Strawn. Councilman?
Thank you, Madam President. I ask Council for unanimous consideration of introductory ordinance 21-158. It's an ordinance to allocate American Rescue Plan Act funds for affordable housing at the town and country apartments.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Riley? I'm sorry, Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I have mixed feelings about this legislation because I do agree with what both of the callers brought up, that there, it feels weird to have reservations because we have been talking about housing and how the ARPA money, the federal COVID relief money, would likely be best used to ensure that all of our residents are housed and are in low cost, high quality housing. And town and country apartments are in my district, and I receive calls all the time for things that are code violations and problems with the structures. I've received multiple videos and complaints about sewage coming up through the drains into the apartments and like flooding the bathrooms and into the carpets and like really horrible stuff that nobody should be forced to live in conditions like that. And I owe it to my constituents, and we all owe it to all of our constituents to make sure that we are supporting like livable conditions, and COVID only exacerbated all of that, where people, people who have lost their sources of income now can't afford to move, or they don't have the mobility, or they are forced to move, and it's a whole mess. And so when I saw that we were encumbering, or being asked to encumber $3 million toward affordable housing, and specifically to the complex, the housing complex, where I do receive most of the complaints about living conditions. Initially, I was thrilled, but then, again, I have reservations. Is this the best way to do it? Why are we rushing through this so quickly, especially when there's a pilot that was approved in 2019 for this private company, JE Properties, who were planning to invest $38 million into this property. And so I watched the video of the meeting, as probably some of my colleagues did as well. And I have been asking to be clued in on that process, those meetings or phone calls or whatever. I've been asking for months to get like any information about what's going on there. And so again, I hesitate, if there's a company that's going to invest $38 million, why are we using taxpayer funds to invest an additional $3 million? It just doesn't add up. And especially when it's kind of in limbo, or it's going to be sold imminently. I don't know if this is the smartest use of funds. And so on the one hand, I'm so excited. This is almost exactly what I would want this money to go to, but it's not quite right. And this is these ARPA funds are once in a lifetime, and there's no rush to spend them. We have until the end of 2024, if that's correct. And so, I don't know. I feel like we don't have, I don't have all of the information that I would want. And it feels like it's not for lack of trying. So, I don't know. It just seems like it's not the right time. It's not exactly the right use of funds. So I have been trying to get more information, and it just is like very difficult, it seems, to find the answers to my questions. And again, I know we're just encumbering the money. We're not spending it. I get it. But, I don't know. I hesitate. I think we need to pump the brakes on this and really analyze if investing this money in this particular project at this particular time is the best use of funds, when there are other opportunities to create low cost, high quality housing, such as, the land trust, as an example. So those are just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Burns?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I too had all those concerns that the callers had, and my computer died right during Ms. Chronopoulos's talking. I didn't leave because I didn't like what she said or something. My computer just died. But at any rate, the callers and Aviva's concerns, and and this is why I was seconded the holding this over so we could get information. I spoke to Mayor-elect Cram this morning, and he assured me that, you know, this $3 million we're putting aside, that they have to come back. He then, as mayor, will have to come back to city council when we're ready to give the money over, and we would then be giving him permission to do it then. But he says that, and I'm not quoting exactly, but this is what I got from our conversation, is that it's the same. This buyer is going through the same process that like the First Ward Action Council would go through when they buy properties, and Canal Plaza went through the same process. That they're going for other grants. They're hoping to get some money from the state. They're hoping to get. They're going for federal tax credits, and that by us encumbering this money, we are showing those others that the city is behind this project, and that will help them with their getting the other grants, et cetera. And, you know, my feeling is that the people there in Town and Country have been, you know, living in bad conditions. We have heard about it for years now. And when it appeared that this project had died during COVID, because it was announced, I think, before we got on city council, before I got on, but I was very happy when this whole thing was announced. This is great. And then it appeared to go away, but now it's coming back. So I take Mayor Cram at his word, and that's why I'm supporting it. But I believe that I got the information that I needed. And I just want I want the callers to know, and anyone else that's watching, that I'm not just voting on this willy-nilly, that I did go out and get the information that we sought, and I'm happy with the information that I got. Now, although before we turn the money over, I really want to see the plan and how they're going to do it. I actually used to live in a huge complex in New York City called Stuyvesant Town, and they fixed those up. And it is a long process because you have to get a couple of empty apartments, fix them up, and then move people out of their apartment into those apartments, fix them up and move them around. And it is a slow process if that's the way that they're going to do it. But at any rate, I'm happy to help all those families over there. And that's why I'm going to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Strawn, is that a hand?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to mention a couple quick things just to, to piggyback on what Councilman Burns just said. I think some of the rising costs, as it turns out, is unfortunate that is happening, but that's the reality of where we are at this point in 2021. And the fact is, when you consider that this money really is leveraging a significant amount of more money. So the $3 million spent for a similar purpose by itself wouldn't even come close to the amount of people that this can help and affect. And not to beat a dead horse, but we do have another shot at this to make sure that it's, because I do agree that we want to make sure that it's, somebody can't just turn around and sell the property or do whatever. I'm optimistic that the state regulations that are going to attach to their money, which is even significantly more than the city's money, will address some of those concerns. But we will have a chance to look at those things before the money's actually spent. So I think to use this to leverage all that other money and to make sure the state is aware that we are partners in this project with them to move forward with their approval process is the key. And that's why we're doing this tonight. And we did have a chance to do this in a regular meeting. People addressed that before. So I don't think this is under the cover of darkness or anything like that. I mean, we had a chance before, we held it over as part of our rules, but we have to make sure that the state realizes that we are doing our part so that they can approve their part and keep this ball moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman O'Reilly.
Thank you, Council President. I hope everyone can hear me. I appreciate all of the comments of my fellow council members, but I would like to remind you all The reason this legislation was held over is because many of us were not seated. So we didn't have the basic information by which to make an informed decision. We received old letters, old information, and the legislation as per the request, but the updated information, things that are critical to understanding how much are they pursuing from the state, what percentage of our money is necessary to ensure the approval of said grant. So the little nuances that a council should have and understand to make a sound decision, we still don't have. And again, I get that we received notes from 2019, but why couldn't we have a meeting with the buyer? Why didn't we have an in-depth conversation to understand the plan now? Those emails were 2 years old. Things have changed. As you mentioned, Councilman Strawn, prices have changed. So plans have changed. And yes, it's great to financially support an entity that wants to improve low income housing. I fully support that. However, as council members who have the authority to oversee a budget, particularly $3 million, why are we so comfortable with hearsay and old data to make a decision? Yes, we are only encumbering, but like we mentioned, with Northside Assembly, we allocated the money after he'd received the grant. We allocated other monies after they received the grants. So what is it about this entity? So doing my due diligence, I used the email to send in the 2019 emails to reach out to Jay Eady. The phone number does not work. It's not updated. So again, old information, I can't even find you. I sent an email requesting a meeting to discuss what are the plans? How have they changed since 2019, since we don't have new data? And in 2019, I was not elected. So I want new information. Do you think I received a response? So yes, I understand the goal is to support and show the state that we support the improvement of this large housing complex. I'm all about supporting housing, particularly in Binghamton. However, as council members, you guys need to ask for more. We need to expect more. Why are we voting on information with old data? And yes, thank you for sharing that meeting you had with Mr. Cram, Councilman Burns. Otherwise, we would not have known, right? So again, we have to have individual conversations to fill in the gaps. What are we meeting for? Why are we a body? Is it because you know you have the majority and you feel as if we don't need the information? So if you are satisfied with the data, that's all that needs to happen. I say this every time. I say this almost every meeting. Transparency, and give us the information we need to make sound decisions. But here we are going into a new year. So I'm hopeful. New year, new vision, new actions, new behaviors, new mayor. Let's hope things will get better. Now, 3 million, is that what is necessary to show that the city is in support of this company per the guidance in the grant application? I don't know. I just learned the name of the grant they were pursuing today. So do we have to give 3 million? We didn't give 3 million to I can't think of the entity. We haven't given that much to anyone else. So again, there are many questions left unanswered. And there is no way as a council you should accept, oh, look at the old notes to make your decision. It's unacceptable. So thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Scringy, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. So thank you, everyone, for all of your input, as well as the two callers that called in. I think they raised some really relevant points. So a couple of things. We already have it on the table that with respect to the encumberment of the $3 million now, the point is to leverage more grant dollars for our city's application for the New York State Housing and Community Renewal Grant, right? So we already have that out on the table. The question of proportionality that Councilwoman Riley raised is a legitimate one. Does it need to be 3 million? Does it need to be 1 million? Does it need to be 5 million? Who in the world knows, right? With respect to how much that is, from the phone calls that I've made and the people that I have spoken to, my understanding is that there are multiple stakeholders with respect to bringing this process to fruition, like Councilman Strawn pointed out, New York State, the federal government, the private entity, and so on and so forth. The beauty of only encumbering the money is that we can unencumber it at a later point in time. The reality of it is that, as we all know, when this started back in 2019, the impact of COVID basically caused not just New York State, but an overwhelming number of state governments throughout the country to essentially close their faucets because nobody had any idea of the impact of COVID at that particular point in time moving forward. So if we have the ability to encumber these monies now and know that procedurally that a contract approval has to come back to this body, which I do agree with a number of my colleagues as well as the councils, the individuals who called in tonight, that part of that process should include discussions with the current residents that are there and the neighborhood. I think that's very, very important. If encumbering this and not spending a penny allows us to situate us in a position to bring the disgusting realities of town and country now and bring it to a position of betterment, and we still retain 100% of control of how we move forward, I'm okay with that. Because again, as we all know, this has to come back to us for the positioning of the actual contract. And if we can encumber it, we can also unencumber it, right? So I think that's really important. And as we're coming into the new year, particularly not knowing what's going to be happening down the next few weeks or months as it relates to the Omicron variant and how the COVID situation is going to come down, I do think it would be wise of us to move this forward because, again, as a body, we retain 100% control. So I'm definitely on the boat there with Councilman Burns as he iterated that as well. So with that being said, I do think making sure that we are reaching out and the residents that are currently in town and country, that we are engaging them, that we are part of that process. Quite frankly, with the deteriorating situation that complex has been in for years, quite frankly, I'm happy that it's changing hands because evidently the current owner can't do what they're supposed to do. So with respect to plumbing, sanitary issues, code violations, and so on and so forth. So that being said, I think all of these points are good. And because we have that 100% control retainership, I'll definitely support this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
There's no one else, Madam President. I'll call the question.
Question been called. Full roll call, please.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Nay.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nay.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Resnetti.
Aye.
Okay, that's 5 ayes, 2 nays, Riley and Friedman.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Seeing there's no other business tonight, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New
Happy
Year,
New Year.
everyone.
Happy New Year.
Take care. Meeting
Stay
adjourned.
warm. Be well.
See you next year.